Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Amalgamation Committee's Council's Committees of a Whole for February 29th, 2023. All public meetings are live streamed and recorded. Any verbal or written information provided may be included in public documents as per the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act, FOIP 41. I'll now call the meeting to order at 9:01. We have just for full disclosure so that the rest of council knows, Councillor Northcott can't join us today or at the moment because he has on another commitment is being tied up in the mountains through this avalanche thing. So he's hoping to possibly join us later on. I'm crossing my fingers by noon, 1 o'clock. So anyways, just to let the rest of the team know that we could expect him if conditions clear up at that point in time. And we are joined by Deputy Mayor Barb Gibson and Councillor Marianne Wolf via electronics. So anyway, looking at the agenda, we have, before we adopt, would need a motion to amend the agenda to do an addition. So looking for a motion to amend the agenda. Okay, Councillor Graham. Looking to add correspondence 4.6 from the CCTA, letter from the CCTA to add it to 4.6 of the agenda. Would need a motion for that addition. Oh, sorry, I should have called the question for the addition for the agenda, or to amend the agenda, I apologize. So motion to amend the agenda. Or sorry, I'm calling the question on the motion to amend the agenda. All those in favor? No. They're not there. The hand went down. Okay. Okay. I'm assuming Councillor Wold and Councillor Gibson. Oh, yeah, we got hands up. Thank you very much. Motion carried.
I'm sorry, I got lost connection.
Oh. Okay. So the motion, Deputy Mayor Gibson, was to amend the agenda.
Okay.
Would you be in favor?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So now a motion to make the addition to the agenda for 4.6 for correspondence from CCTA.
Do we already have a 4? We already have a 4.
Oh, do we have 4.6? Oh, sorry. 4.7 or 4.8?
4.8.
Okay. Ms. Haight?
So correspondence was received from the Clearwater Taxpayers Association, and it was submitted February 26th after the agenda was already published. So this correspondence is to be added to item 4.6. So it's an addition to 4.6.
Okay, thank you. In addition to. So it would need a motion for the addition to of correspondence to 4.6 with the letter. Okay, Deputy Reeve Melhoff makes the motion. Any discussion? Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. That motion's carried. All right, so with that then, I believe, do I need a motion to accept the whole agenda now? Yeah, okay, so I need the motion now to accept the amended agenda. Miss, thank you. Thank you, Miss Nelson, Councillor Nelson. All right, all those in favor? And that's carried, thank you. All right, moving on to 3.1. Amalgamation Councils of the Whole meeting from January 25th. Looking to adopt those minutes. Any comments, concerns? Not looking for a motion? Councillor Graham, thank you. All those in favor of January 25th? Thank you. 3.2, meeting from January 26th. Motion to adopt. Deputy Reeve Melhoff. All those in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Now moving on to new business, 4.1, Environmental Services Amalgamation Operational Report. I'll turn that over to, I'm not sure if it's Mr. Martinson or Mr. Emmons. Mr. Martinson, you may go ahead. Your light's on.
I'm lit up. Thank you, Chairman Swanson and committee members. I'm once again here to present information associated with the environmental legislation that municipalities are either required to or may administer or enforce within the boundaries of the specific municipality pertaining to the legislative appointments. So we're mainly going to talk about the four pieces of legislation that specifically provide these opportunities or requirements. But also, I think there's other environmental services that communities sometimes request or require that may not specifically be mentioned that likely will also be covered under the umbrellas of these operations as well. So those four pieces of legislation I referred to are the Soil Conservation Act, the Environmental Enhancement Protection Act, as well as the Weed Control Act and the Agricultural Pest Act. Each one of these has specific requirements or allows for specific appointments, and local authority should, have those powers to appoint or requirements to appoint within the acts, and the appointments come through the local authority or the councils. And so I think, really just to summarize the agenda item in front of you, we are currently providing the Village of Caroline service to meet the requirements that are there today. And because the Village of Caroline is an urban municipality or not a county or rural municipality, there are requirements under acts today that will become more stringent should the village turn into a hamlet. But on the same token, the current county appointments would transition and cover the hamlet like our current appointments would cover Leslieville or Nordegg or any other hamlet. So essentially, there really isn't anything that needs to be done specifically. There will, be small operational changes that need to be made when it comes to things like terms of references or procedures and policies should the village turn into a hamlet in the future, and administration is prepared and will be in a position to make those changes and meet those requirements if and when the time comes. So I think that is all I will present formally, but be very happy to answer any questions from committee members.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Swanson.
You bet. Is there any questions for Director Martinson in this particular item? I'm going back to my Zoom thing to see if there's anybody online. Nope, looks free. So if not, looking for a motion, staff recommendation. Okay, Deputy Reeve Melhoff.
Thank you, Reeve. Thank you, Director Martinson. I would like to make a motion that the Amalgamation Committee receives the Environmental Services Amalgamation Operational Report for information.
All right, as per staff recommendation. Well, any further discussion? I'll call the question. All those in favor? And,
Get off easy today.
yeah, there we go. Yeah, we're good. Thank you. Thank you, Director Martinson, for coming in. That motion is carried. All right, moving on to item 4.2, Telecommunications Operations Amalgamation. And looking to Director Hay.
Thank you,
Sorry,
Madam
Director
Chair.
Hagan.
Good morning, committee members. I have a few items to present to you today, the first of which is telecommunications. As noted in the agenda item, telecommunications refers to the transfer of data via telephone, radio, computer, and other electromagnetic means. It also includes the equipment and services used to accomplish these transfers. As a matter of note, per the order in council, that would be required to approve the amalgamation of the two municipalities. Any contracts in place that are related to telecommunications for either Clearwater County or the Village of Caroline will go forward to the new municipality. This also applies to village contracts related to generic security support for surveillance camera and e-systems. There's a document attached to the agenda item itself referring to the current TELUS initiative to move to next generation 911 service. This change will allow first responders to take advantage of improvements in telecommunications technology to share information via text, video, and documents. TELUS is currently developing the design requirements or schema for data to be submitted by municipalities. Clearwater County GIS team, which is part of information technology, is a current partner of the Alberta Municipal Data Sharing Partnership, or AMDSP, who are currently working with TELUS to prepare for this change. County staff will be following those guidelines and recommendations as we prepare our data for Next Gen 911. More information about the organization and their work on this initiative can be found through the link in the agenda item. Village Caroline staff are aware of the upcoming change, but have not had discussions with TELUS nor the AMDSP to date. TELUS has indicated that they will not begin to receive data until after March of 2025.
All right. Thank you. Any questions or comments in regards to this? If not, looking for a motion. Councillor Ratcliffe.
Thank you, Eve. I will make that motion that the Amalgamation Committee receives Telecommunications Operations Amalgamation Report for information as per staff recommendation.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? We're all good. Yeah, good to go. Okay, online is great. Thank you very much. That motion is carried. Now moving item 4.3, compensation to other municipal authorities. Again, Mr. Hagan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This item deals with various agreements, other arrangements that are currently in place between Clearwater County and other municipalities that will carry forward to the new municipality, require payments in 2025 and future years. Summary of these commitments follows. Currently, Clearwater County has an agreement with Wetaskiwin County. It's a tax sharing agreement in recognition of Wetaskiwin County's efforts in developing and maintaining roadways that provide access to properties in the North Panhandle area of Clearwater County. 2023 amount was $712,886. County also has an agreement with the town of Rocky Mountain House for community support service agreement. And this relates to infrastructure repair, maintenance, construction related to tax exempt properties that both the town and county residents benefit from. And the current amount, or the 2023 amount for that, was $426,300. Town of Rocky Mountain House, again, we have a library agreement with them that relates to building, grounds, maintenance supplies, salary, contracted wages, utilities, insurance. This contribution allows county residents access to library services and programs 2023 amount for that item was $188,000. An agreement with the town of Rocky Mountain House for operation of the airport and represents the county's 50% share of operating costs. And that amount was $120,000. Town of Rocky Mountain House again for recreation and culture represents 50% share of the operating costs for the rec center, the pool, curling rink, guest services, fitness and programming, splash park, sports field buildings. The 2023 total for that was $1,008,820. Town of Rocky Mountain House for FCSS, operating costs for support to town and county residents, 2023 amount was $84,103. Town of Rocky Mountain House again for RCMP, specifically the contribution for administrative support, and that 2023 amount was $197,000. The county has an arrangement with the city of Red Deer for the Regional Assessment Review Board, and the annual cost on that is $2,000 a year, plus any costs of actual appeal hearings that may take place. We also have a contract with them for dispatch services. 2023 total on that was $164,628. So the total contribution from the county to other municipalities, again, that will carry forward to the new municipality starting in 2025 as an obligation, is $2,903,737. In addition to these contributions to support municipal operations, the county has also agreed to provide capital funding to the town of Rocky Mountain House for the following: wastewater facility upgrade, and the final payment on that in 2025 would be $752,812. The Village of Caroline pays a municipal authority approximately $290 per month for wastewater sample analysis. So again, in summary, these are current contractual or other agreements that are in place by the two individual municipalities that would carry forward to the new municipality as obligations going forward.
Thank you very much. Councillor, for questions, I'll open it up for questions, and see there's a blinking light here over at Councillor Ratcliffe. I apologize for my timing.
And mine?
Go ahead.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Could you elaborate a little on this infrastructure repair item to the town? Just to give a better understanding of what that
Absolutely.
includes.
Previous to this agreement, there was an agreement in place between the town of Rocky Mountain House and Clearwater County that matched the Stronger Together agreement and essentially provided an annual grant to the town of Rocky Mountain House. That agreement expired a couple of years ago, and the town and the county wished to continue on some sort of a funding relationship together. So the two administrations worked together to find a basis for that funding agreement to go forward, and essentially landed on a recognition of those tax exempt properties in both the county and the town. And obviously, being tax exempt, there's no property tax being collected to cover the cost of services related to those properties. So it'd be road repair, it'd be sidewalks, that sort of thing. And so the town and the county both compiled a list of those exempt properties, looked at applying assessed values to that as well as the appropriate tax rates, and then compared the differential between the two municipalities in terms of taxes foregone, and agreed to, through the ICC, and then ultimately each of the councils agreed to a percentage of funding for that. So it ends up being a net payment from the county to the town to cover that amount. That amount came out to $426,300 in 2023. It's been fairly consistent the last couple of years. Little bit of a change for change in assessment value or change in tax rates. The percentage itself is specified by the agreement. And what that represents is an offset essentially to the town for the costs of providing services to those tax exempt facilities that county residents also enjoy. That would be churches, schools, those kind of things.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further comments or questions? I appreciate the breakdown. Good reminder of post-budget for everything, so looking for a motion to accept information. Okay, Councillor Graham, thank you. So the committee receives the compensation for other municipal authorities presentation for information. There's no further discussion. I'll call a question. All those in favor? We're good to go. Thank you. That motion is carried. Now moving on to 4.4, Financial Transition Amalgamation Report, and I turn that over to Mr. Hagan again. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I hope you're not going to grow weary of my voice this morning.
It's all good.
Background on this item is based on the proposed date of amalgamation of January 1st, 2025. Independent financial statement audits will be required as follows. Clearwater County will be required to provide financial statements that have been audited by an independent party as at December 31st, 2024, so immediately preceding amalgamation and for the year then ended. Village Caroline, similarly, as at December 31st, 2024, and for the year then ended. The new municipality, as it's starting on the first day of the new fiscal year, would need to provide audited financial statements as at December 31st, 2025, and for the year then ended. The current external auditors for Clearwater County are Metrics Group LLP. Current external auditors for the Village Caroline are BDO Canada LLP. Auditors for the new municipality will need to be appointed by the new council. Clearwater County, the Village Caroline, currently both utilize Alberta Treasury branches for banking services. The county uses the Rocky Mountain House branch, while the village uses the branch located in Caroline. Both municipalities also have funds invested through ATB Wealth. Signing authorities will need to be determined by the council of the new municipality. Both branches and ATB Wealth will need to be updated accordingly.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, discussion? Deputy Reeve Melhoff?
Thank you, Reeve. Does that get us out of sync on our normal auditing timeframe? Because we have to do an audit every year. Does this then change our normal auditing dates?
Not at all. It absolutely perfectly lines up. At the absence of amalgamation, both municipalities would be required to provide audited financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2024.
Okay.
So that stays consistent. If amalgamation was to occur at some date during the year of 2025 or a later year, then essentially each of the former municipalities would have to do an additional financial statement for the stub period until they were dissolved, like essentially no longer existed. And then the first set of financial statements for the new municipality would be for a shorter period, starting at the date of amalgamation through to December 31st, as the MGA, the Municipal Government Act, requires that all municipalities have a December 31st year end. So the January 1st, 2025 date actually accommodates so that we don't have to do any extra work.
Perfect, thank you. I just was worried that it'd be an extra burden to do an extra one, but if we're doing it anyway, not as big of a deal.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Question on procedure with this. This all happens in the first week in January of the new municipality, like of January 2025, new sign authority, new motions for a new audit, that kind of thing. Okay. Thank you. All right. Any further questions, comments? Councillor Ratcliffe?
I will just make the motion that the committee receives the financial transition amalgamation report for information.
Thank you. Any further comment, questions? I'll call the question. All those in favor? Thank you. That motion is carried. Moving on to 5.4, Municipal Assets, Debts, Liabilities, Amalgamation Report. Mr. Hagan, please.
Last one, I promise. Through ministerial order, all assets, liabilities, surplus for each amalgamating municipality will by default pass to the new municipality as at the amalgamation date. What I've provided for the committee's consideration is summarized information as at December 31st, 2022, per the audited financial statements of each municipality. And again, it's 2022 because the 2023 figures of the audits have not been completed yet. So this is the most current financial statement available. Financial assets, Clearwater County, $123,380,679. Village of Caroline, $1,289,926. And then I provided combined totals there as well. Liabilities, Clearwater County, $24,464,734. Village of Caroline, $537,683. The net financial assets would be $98,915,945 for Clearwater County and $752,243 for Caroline. Add in the non-financial assets, $382,010,465 for Clearwater County, $7,683,527 for Village Caroline, results in accumulated surplus, $480,926,410 for Clearwater County, $8,435,770 for the Village of Caroline. And just for clarification, the financial assets referred to earlier include cash, accounts receivable, land held for resale, and any investments. Liabilities include accounts payable, accrued liabilities, deferred revenue, long-term debt, landfill closure, post-closure costs. And I've provided some additional information with respect to long-term debt and the details. Clearwater County, the balance of December 31st, 2022 of principal was $1,073,673,000, and compared to our debt limit of $86,203,707, leaving available room for borrowing of just over $85 million. And again, further clarification, the Clearwater County balance is represented by one debenture related to West, the lodge in Rocky Mountain House, and the building addition that was done several years ago on that. And that debenture will be fully paid off in 2025. Village Caroline balance of December 31st, 2022, $148,496. The debt limit for the village is $1,876,152, leaving available room for borrowing of just over $1.7 million. Additional clarification, the debt limit is calculated at 1.5 times the revenue of each municipality, and there's also a debt servicing limit that is calculated separately and is reported in each of the respective financial statements. The net financial assets represents the difference between financial assets and liabilities. The non-financial assets include tangible capital assets, inventories for consumption, and prepaid expenses. Accumulated surplus represents the difference between total assets and total liabilities, or net worth. It includes restricted, which would be internally restricted, and unrestricted amounts, as well as the equity in tangible capital assets.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for Mr. Hagan? Deputy Reeve Melhoff?
Thank you, Reeve. Can you go into a little bit more detail on things like infrastructure deficits and how that can be calculated in this world? Because I know like Clearwater County's bridge deficit alone is quite the impact on this type of world. So how is that brought into this?
An infrastructure deficit or anything similar to it is not something that's required to be reported in the financial statements. Absolutely, it will be a consideration for this committee going forward, and I believe that Public Works will be working together with our Public Works of the county, will be working with the village Public Works folks to evaluate the condition, age, upgrade requirements, repair requirements, that sort of thing, in separate reporting. So that would be outside of the information that's available to us through the audited financial statements.
Supplementary?
Yes, please. Thank you, Eve. Thank you for the clarification there, because I think for me, as the big picture of what this new municipality will look like in the end, is that is important to me to find out what the infrastructure deficit of the new municipality will end up being in the long run when we take on a new community. So I think that will be very important information prior to me making a final decision.
Councillor Ratcliffe?
Thank you, Chairwoman. Just so that there's no or minimal conclusion jumping, could you provide some clarity around Clearwater County's liability of almost 25 million?
In order to give that breakdown, I would have to go through the financial statements themselves and go to the actual working papers on that. It's going to include, as noted, the long-term debt. It's going to include accounts payable, accrued liabilities, which will fluctuate up and down each year, basically due to timing of when invoices get paid and so forth. If the county receives goods and services prior to December 31st, but hasn't paid the invoice yet, that shows up in accounts payable. So again, timing can affect that as well. Deferred revenue will be in there. So if we get, for instance, grants from the provincial or federal governments that we haven't applied yet, we hold them in deferred revenue, because if we don't apply them, we owe that money back. Once we complete the projects, or at least as the project is being completed, we start to recognize the offsetting grant revenue against the cost of those projects and that sort of thing. The landfill closure, post-closure costs are one of the more significant amounts in there. And as well, what that represents is following the dissolution of the Regional Waste Authority, Clearwater County took on responsibility fully for the operation and ownership of the landfill. And with the exception, and I'll come back to the exception in a second. So overall, the county has a responsibility to look into the future and estimate based on the work that has been done to prepare cells for filling at the landfill and the degree to which those cells have been filled compared to the life of the overall landfill, and then do what's called a net present value. In other words, take those costs in the future for closing those cells and then monitoring for environmental purposes following the closure of the entire landfill, and bringing all of that back into today's dollars. And that's a significant chunk of the outstanding liabilities and is separately identified within the financial statements. Now, with respect to the exception would be for the industrial, the cells that are now closed. They're not officially finally closed, because that won't happen until the entire landfill is closed. But there's no more waste going into those industrial cells. And there is a separate agreement between Clearwater County, Town of Rocky Mountain House, and the Village of Caroline that speaks to the ongoing liability for closure and post-closure monitoring and servicing of leachate removal and so forth from those closed industrial cells. And those amounts should be represented in the financial statements as well. And there'll be annual operating costs incurred related to those. Does that help?
Yes, thank you. That kind of categorized the issue. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any further questions for administration or comments? See nothing online either. Looking for a motion. Councillor Lyon?
Definitely, I'd be pleased to make the motion that the committee receives the municipal assets, debt, liabilities, amalgamation report for information.
Thank you very much. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Are we led online? Yes, motion's carried. All right, moving on to 4.6, the Amalgamation Public Participation Plan, Engagement, Response, and Future Public Participation Activities. I believe I'll turn that over to Ms. Haight.
Thank you. So this is the item where the correspondence from the Clearwater County Taxpayers Association was added to as part of stakeholder feedback. So as per the committee's public participation plan, stakeholder were received a letter from the committee asking for their comments regarding the proposed amalgamation. The deadline to respond for those, deadline for those stakeholders to respond was January 11th. And to date, as of publication of the agenda, only 9 submissions were received. And with the Clearwater County Taxpayers Association's letter, that makes it 10. And the summary for the submissions are some of the summary of the concerns are cost to taxpayers, future expansion of Caroline Lagoon to receive hauled waste, library sustainability, agreement budget board membership regarding the Clearwater Regional FCSS. Fortis Alberta had minimal concerns. ID number 12, Jasper National Park, Lacombe County, no concerns. Parkland Regional Library System had minimal concerns. There was a concern from a resident regarding excessive land use policies ruining landowner investment, and Rocket Community Learning Council had no concerns. The concerns identified in the Clearwater County Taxpayers Association are related to previous recommendations that the committee had made regarding interim council. Their concern is that 12 councillors is not necessary. And they are proposing that the committee consider having a total of 9, excuse me, a total of 9 members, or delaying the amalgamation date. So the next activity and timeline for public engagement approved for the committee are as follows. Updating public fact sheets, release of news releases, those are ongoing and attended to after each committee meeting. And the last item is a public meeting with the dates to be confirmed. So administration is asking for the committee's feedback on activities to date, and if the committee would like to schedule public meetings, a minimum 6 weeks lead time would be required for coordinating and advertising for informational and consultation purposes. And public meetings will help establish clear and transparent communication with all those impacted and involved with the potential amalgamation. With this effort, everyone will have opportunity to provide feedback and have questions and concerns addressed on the decisions from committee negotiations. There was public engagement conducted in 2022 and 23 for the amalgamation feasibility study. That engagement was for that purpose. Proposed engagement for the amalgamation negotiations report is to get the public's feedback on decisions that the committee is making to date. So therefore, administration recommends that the committee consider scheduling at least 2-person meetings and 1 virtual to consult with the public on committee decisions regarding the proposed amalgamated municipality. The objectives of these meetings would be to inform and receive input, particularly related to committee decisions on electoral wards and council representation.
Thank you. Any comments or discussion on the public participation plan to date? Deputy Reeve Melhoff.
Thank you, Reeve. I am pleased to see that we're going to be working on doing some public engagement meetings. I look forward to those. My one concern is with the staff recommendation for them being in Leslieville. If we're only doing 2, I would prefer to see it in a place like Dovercourt. It's closer to the divisions that are actually fully impacted by this potential amalgamation. Not that the entire Clearwater County is not impacted, it absolutely is. But if we're not going to go to every single division to do an outreach, I would think somewhere like Dovercourt might make a little bit more sense to get more of those people closer to the village.
Any further comments, questions? I would agree. We need to have something closer to the people. One in Caroline, one in Dovercourt, and a Zoom. Councillor Graham.
I guess I have the opposite perspective on this because Caroline's pretty close to Dovercourt, so it's easy for them to travel there. Whereas, like you said, the whole county is affected by this, and then we kind of have one further north and one further south. So I like the one in Leslieville. I'd be fine with adding one to Dovercourt too, but I would like to see the one stay in Leslieville personally.
Any more comments, questions? Deputy Reeve Melhoff?
Well, just, because my concern is if we're choosing Leslieville, what's the reason to choose Leslieville? Why not Faraway? Why not Nordegg? Why not Hardendale? Or Evergreen? Why Leslieville?
Go ahead, Ms. Haight.
Administration was just trying to suggest a central area within Clearwater County.
Okay.
General central area. But if the committee wishes to discuss other locations, certainly. If there was no particular reason or specific reason, just other than geographical.
Yeah, I would also offer that this is not just the residents around Caroline that are making this decision. This is the whole of the county, so Leslieville makes sense now to me to have that. So because they are, it's an important to hear what they, you know, I'll just say from Division 7, everything north of Highway 12, you know, in that regards, residents would probably want to chime in on this as well, so, which I think is fair. So, Deputy Reed, or sorry, we'll go with Councillor Nelson.
Good morning. What would be the extra cost to just adding the Dovercourt Hall? It's not really that expensive, is it? Like, I would agree with both ladies, and if it's not an excessive expense, have one at Dovercourt and Leslieville.
Ms. Haight?
I don't have actual figures for conducting open houses. I would assume that all committee members would be attending, so there would be remuneration for that. There would be staff remuneration, there would be hall rental, and coffee, donuts. If I had to guess at a number, could be upwards to approximately 10,000 for yeah. But that could be a very high estimate.
Councillor Ratcliffe?
Thank you. Just thinking about who would be attending these different meetings. And the Caroline one would attract people from Caroline, the town and the rural area that, you know, also have depended on Caroline for a lot of services. And the flavor of one in Caroline and one in Leslieville could be quite different, as the Leslieville one would likely be mostly county residents. I don't know, I see the merits of Councillor Melhoff's suggestion of Dovercourt, or even just one in Dovercourt. Yeah, that's my thoughts.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Haight.
Just to note, recent correspondence from Municipal Affairs, Minister of Municipal Affairs. The village and the county were successful in their grant application, and they've been granted $125,000. So funds from that grant could be used for public engagement, things like that.
Thank you for that. But it also would, I would say that that is not just public engagement, that is to deal with the whole amalgamation process, et cetera, right? Like public, yeah.
Yes, exactly, for report writing, the final negotiation report.
Right.
But it could also go towards public engagement.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Lougheed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just kind of anticipating what the format might be for these public sessions. Would it be reasonable to expect similar to what we had in the previous round, where we have kind of an outlay of where we're at, and then the opportunity for some question and answer from the community? Is that kind of the format we're looking at?
Yes, it would be an opportunity for the public to review what the committee's discussed to date, provide their feedback to committee members, and ask questions and receive answers.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any further questions, comments? Look quickly online. Don't see no hands up from anybody online. All right, Deputy Reed Melhoff.
Thank you, Reeve. Moving the site from Leslieville isn't a hill for me to dig into. If everybody is wanting Leslieville, that's fine. I would really like us to see it going out to more divisions when we do public, where possible. For example, I don't think we've had any public outreach in a community hall in Division 1 I actually cannot remember the last time a public outreach in Division 1 was ever done. So I'd really like us to, when we're looking at these public outreaches, to look at all of the divisions where we can. But changing it from Leslieville isn't a hill for me to dig my feet into if the committee would rather it be in Leslieville.
All right, thank you for that. All right, so the staff recommendation is to schedule the public meetings for consultation on April 17th at Caroline, April 18th in Leslieville, and an online meeting on April 19th. Looking for comments, or I would imagine these has already been vetted through administration, that those dates are clear for them too. Okay, perfect. Go ahead, Councillor Graham.
We have a hand up online.
Oh.
Councillor Deputy Mayor Gibson.
Okay, go ahead, Deputy Mayor Gibson.
My question is, if some of the other boards would like to have consultation, could they then, after these two dates, come forward and say, yes, we would like to have one in our area as well?
So basically having, like going through these three meetings and then seeing if there's extra consultation needing after that? That's what I heard?
Yes, that's what I had thought, is if there is people coming forward to the county saying, well, we didn't know anything about this, or we weren't able to go there, can we have one in ours? As per Deputy Reeve Melhoff had suggested, in her area, in Ward 1, would it be possible then to go ahead and do that?
Okay. So part of the process too, I believe, Deputy Mayor, is to have at least 6 weeks in advance things planned. So my question then will go to Ms. Haight, is there'll be further public engagement that we will be expecting, again, probably in June, et cetera. Like, this isn't the only meetings that will be scheduled before the report goes out, correct?
Considering the timelines, I would say that these would be the only meetings prior to the report being drafted. After the report is drafted, then again, there would be public engagement, and as to what that would look like would depend on the committee. The draft report could be just posted online for viewing, copies available for those that aren't online, and a certain period of time for the public to provide their comments on that. But the bulk of the public engagement would be these three meetings.
Okay, So my question then to this as well is, would there be, I know you've specified the information that would be presented there. If, I know we have a few more meetings until those public engagements, could we add to that as far as if there's something more that we would like the public to chime in on at these public meetings? So is there an opportunity to add to that list or that presentation?
Certainly, certainly, definitely opportunity for the committee to consider additional public engagements, for sure.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Reeve Melhoff?
Thank you, Reeve, you were able to answer most of my questions. Because it's what information are we actually providing at these public meetings if the draft isn't fully ready, right? So, because they're gonna wanna comment on that draft. So as long as there is an opportunity for, once a draft is ready, for there to be more comment, I think that is really important, because if there's not a draft ready, what are we presenting to the public? So, as long as there is an opportunity after that draft, I think that will be good. Thank you.
All right, any further comments, questions? So I did, I don't know where everybody landed as far as adding an extra meeting venue, or are we gonna leave it as is? So, and if we're leaving it as is, then we will, okay, Councillor Lougheed?
I guess from my preference, it would be to remain as is. If we start to hold one in each division of the county, I think the criticisms that's been outlined of the process would start to show that we're having 5 meetings within, or 7 meetings within Clearwater County and 1 within Caroline. Is there a fairness there too? I'm not exactly sure that. I think where we're at now of having an accessible point within a couple of accessible points within what would be the amalgamated municipality, I think is sufficient, and then an online session. And I would just say that having been taken part in the first round of those amalgamations discussions, we quite often had people attend all of those sessions. So people will definitely move from one to one if they feel it's important to voice their concerns.
Thank you. Councillor Nelson?
Leslieville and Caroline.
Okay. Councillor Ratcliffe?
Just to clear up my understanding is that after the draft document is released, there will be no further public consultation. Or like, are we, at these other meetings, are we going to have the draft document available?
So the question was, will there be a further public participation or engagement after the draft is released?
That would be up to the committee to decide. At this point, I believe that the plan is to have that draft report available for public viewing. An opportunity, whether it's 2, 3, 4 weeks for the public to send in their comments, provide their feedback. Whether or not there's an actual open house or, public meeting, that would be up to the committee. And they could decide that at a later date.
Does that answer your question? Further?
Yes.
Subsequent? Okay.
I would prefer to see another opportunity when the draft is available.
Okay. There'll be an opportunity for us to have that discussion at a next amalgamation meeting. Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, so we have a staff recommendation in front of us, looking for a motion to that effect. Okay, Councillor Nelson, thank you.
I move that the committee schedule public meetings for consultation on the proposed amalgamation, April 17th, 2024, at the Caroline Community Hub at 4 to 6 p.m. April 18th, 2024, at the Leslieville Community Center, 4 to 6 p.m., and a virtual online meeting April 19th, 2024, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Thank you. If there's no further comments or questions, I'll call the question. All those in favor? We're good to go online. Thank you. That motion is carried. Now moving on to item 4.7, the annexation of land, continuous boundary. Turn that over to Ms. Haight again, please.
This report is to just review the annexation of land to achieve a contiguous border. Now, Clearwater County and the Village of Caroline already share a common border that is contiguous boundary, forming a contiguous area between the municipalities. So consequently, annexation to achieve a continuous boundary is not required by the new municipality. Because as it shows in the map, Village of Caroline is well within Clearwater County, not even close to the boundary.
You're good?
Yeah, if there's any questions
Yep.
about that, okay.
Deputy Reeve Meloff?
Thank you, Reeve. Thank you for the clarification on this. And it's my understanding that unless it's to achieve a contiguous boundary, annexation during an amalgamation process is actually prohibited. So you're only allowed to do it to form a contiguous boundary. Any other form of annexation during amalgamation is not actually allowed. So I would actually make the motion that the committee recommends annexation of lands to achieve contiguous boundaries for the amalgamation municipality is not required.
Thank you. Question, motion on the table. Any comments, questions? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Yeah, good to go. Thank you. That motion is carried. All right, moving down the agenda, no old business. We now move into closed session for negotiations. I was looking for a motion to go into closed session. Motion to go in closed session. Councillor Ratcliffe, thank you. All those in favor? That motion is carried. Thank you. And welcome back to our meeting. We've just come out of closed session. And with that, I believe we have a motion coming out of that closed session. So I will go to Councillor Graham for the motion, please.
I would like to make a motion that we amend the decision-making model in the charter as discussed in closed session.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion on that? If not, I will call the question. All those in favor? One more vote. I believe she could have gone. Oh, yeah, there she is. All right, I see it at the top. I have that one. Yeah. All right, that motion is carried. Thank you very much. And looking at the agenda, we're down to decision number 7, which is adjournment. Yeah.
Sure, you heard me. I'm in favor.
I've got a different, my link must not be working because I got everybody muted on mine, so anyways. Oh, there you go. Okay, Counselor, or Deputy Reeve Melhoff? She put her hand up now, probably for the last vote. It's probably delayed, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, for the vote, so. Anyways, so that is unanimous. Okay, so now we're at the number 7, and that is for adjournment. Does anybody want to make a motion for adjournment? Okay, Counselor Nelson makes a motion for adjournment. Is all those, yeah, all those in favor? Oh, all 3 votes, perfect, thank you. Thank you very much, and have a good day.